Right, welcome everybody. And Steve, if we could start with you, do we have any apologies?
I haven't had any apologies tonight, no.
You know, Rebecca is kind of on maternity leave, as it were, for a couple of weeks.
Is that an excuse? I didn't realise. No, sorry. I obviously, Rebecca, I just, can, you know, I'm inviting her to everything and keeping her informed.
Yeah.
Assume she comes as
well, she might want to join in, you never know.
Yeah, well, she said she's hoping to kind of rejoin for full council next Tuesday. So she's kind of aiming at that being her first meeting back.
You can bring the baby.
And bring the baby, no doubt, yes. Well, she said the great thing about Zoom is she can just turn the video off and feed the baby and carry on with the meeting at the same time. Anyway, right, so nothing from Ruth.
No, I've not heard anything from Ruth. No.
Okay, and I would have told you that Gareth's going to be a bit late, but he's here, so.
Yes, I managed to get there early.
Right, have we got any declarations of interest from anyone? Nope. Okay, minutes of the last meeting. As I say, unfortunately, I haven't actually got them in front of me. Steve, do you want to just quickly whiz them up on the screen just to make sure there's any actions that we need to address?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, right. Well, if we could just start, is everybody happy with the minutes? Have you all had a chance to look at them? I know it's difficult for, obviously, for Ed and for Ruth, because you don't have access to OneDrive. We tend to just be able to look at them on there. So, so maybe, Steve, it's worth just sending them out in advance of the meeting so people who can't get onto OneDrive can see them.
That'd be great.
Okay, we seem to have a meeting closed and then a couple of things at the bottom, Steve.
This is because these are the minutes that I'll be typing up tonight. So those things at the bottom are tonight's
I see.
5 to 11 agenda items.
Right, okay, so it's up to there, right, okay. Right, so if we could quickly just go through the actions.
I think the main action was the public toilets.
Toilets, yeah, I was going to say, I can see that. That was the only one, was it?
I think that was the only actual action, yeah.
Right. And we have indeed had the first meeting, and obviously that's on the agenda, so we'll pick that up when we get to that. Okay, everybody otherwise happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Right, so Maddie, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been quite a busy month in January, even if, you know, we're still in the lockdown and have to adhere to lots of different guidelines, changing guidelines all the time. It's actually been quite a lot of admin and getting stuff ready to go in the next few months. A lot of stuff's come to a head now, which has been really nice, because obviously Christmas period is quite slow for a lot of people that we're working with. So the bins have been ordered, and so have the vinyls. So everyone should have seen the final design in the report, which I thought looks great. It's really eye-catching, and I'm so excited to get the bins in. Didn't think I'd ever say that, but I'm very excited. So we'll be launching a communications campaign to go out with that. So it's basically going to be little factual information, graphics and posters, tips and tricks on how to recycle on the go, because this project is all about recycling on the go and doing it appropriately and correctly. We do it at home, you know, it's really easy, we have to, we're sort of used to it now, but recycling on the go is a lot different, and that we don't generalize from being so good at home to being so good on the go. So it's sort of like bridging that gap a little bit. So hopefully these nice new vinyls will do that and make it easier, more convenient for people to recycle on the go. So that's all sorted, and Swansea officers will be installing them basically within the first week of them arriving. with Swansea. So they're arriving on the 24th, and who I've spoken to, Swansea officer said that they can get them in ASAP, really. I went on a walking site meeting with them, and we marked out all the bins that are going to be replaced from Newton down to Southend. So that's exciting. The orchard project, I've been with a small group following obviously social distancing and all the guidelines down to the orchard, and we planted a channel beauty, which was great. It was nice to see it actually in the ground because they've been on hold for a while, but he couldn't pull them up until they were dormant, obviously. We've just heel trenched one more. So I'm in conversation with the volunteers and the orchard project to discuss where the best place for this one would go, you know, where we would plant it. So there is an ash tree that we said we were going to remove right when we started this project, and we have now removed it. So hopefully it'll go there because it's in good sunlight and it's got a lot of space if we take a little bit of the shrub just a metre back. So I think that it would be a good spot for it, but I just want to check with everyone if they're in agreement really when we get down there.
Maddie, can I just ask, did you manage to remove the roots of the ash tree and everything, or was it just, that must have been difficult? Yeah,
well, Eddie was actually there and did an amazing job.
Hard work, Ed.
I had some good help. I had some good help from a couple of young lads.
Oh, Judah must have needed it.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Fortunately, it was quite a young ash, wasn't it? So.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
It wasn't too bad, but still, yeah. And we've just heel trenched the KT in there at the moment, and we're just we've got another month to play with for it to plant out. So we're just liaise on that really. And same with the sign. So there's a picture of the sign on the report. The pictures of the wildlife are going to be illustrated as watercolor. Yeah, so it's going to look really nice. It's really pretty, and I really love what he's done. But basically, we're just holding off so we can get that KT in there as well, because obviously we've got another tree to put in there. So that's coinciding with Calibian Sawmill actually making the sign for us. So I've sent across a lot of my designs and I thought I'd just, sort of my ideas, give them to him, but he's very creative and he knows, what sort of signage that would be nice at an orchard. So we're working together and constantly liaising on that really, so to coincide with actually getting it installed. And we'll hopefully do that on the same day as the gate and the new fence posts. So that will be by the end of this month, hopefully, that he would have had that made, and yeah, fingers crossed. So that's looking really good. The Smugs project, the clearance is being undertaken by Wildlife Trust South and West Wales, and that's going on the 11th of February, and they'll be finishing it on the Monday, which is the 15th, I believe, if it's not done. But they said it could take a maximum of 2 days to do it. But once we've done that, I actually met someone with regard to the fencing for the site on Friday, and he needs to come back and see the site cleared before we can do a real, estimate of what we need fencing wise. Because obviously we just want post and rail to allow for movement underneath, but it'd be nice to have a boundary, particularly because there's lots of banks around the site, and obviously the path runs down, so it's easy to come down on the bank, so having the post and rail there would be quite nice. So once that's cleared on the 11th and the 15th, I'll be meeting with a lot of different people as well down there. The next creation is the wetland and then getting up some fences. So that's very exciting. It's moving nice and fast now, because obviously we're getting into pond building. March is like the time where you start building ponds, so we need to get on with that. Plastic-free mumbles. I had a meeting with my team this maybe last week, and we've basically just been gathering together lots of materials for the next 2 campaigns that we're going to be launching, and one of them is Mumbles in the Loop. So the Plastic-free Mumbles team are going to help, and we're all going to make the communications campaign through Plastic-free Mumbles because it makes sense with recycling, etc. And also we're going to be doing a Bin the Butt campaign, which is the litter bug that you saw in the report. One of the volunteers illustrated that, I thought it was fantastic. We have to use it. It's so eye-catching and it's just perfect for the campaign. So I'm really looking forward to making some materials for that. And that's going to coincide with getting the ballot bins in as well. So we're just deciding on where we want these cigarette butt bins to go in Mumbles, where we think they would be most used. So that's what we're just discussing at the moment. And obviously I went on the radio and I went on, we had a Mumbles Nub News. It's a new news in Mumbles. So we had a little article on there, which was nice. And I've been interviewed by 2 different university students about the campaign. Everyone's really loving the Pick Up Your Cup campaign. They really enjoyed it. So a lot of stuff moving with Plastic Free Mumbles, which is great. Hopefully we'll be able to do more events soon as well, public events. So missing those. And then other projects, I met with a gentleman called Andrew from AD Gas to talk about the water bottle fillers. So that's moving along. We've got some points to do on that. And also went to Langham Golf Club to discuss some wildflower meadows along there. So they've got this patch up there, which is huge, and they're willing to just completely have it into a coastal wildflower meadow. So that got me very excited. So I was there and I had a look, and I've put some specific coastal species together that I'd recommend. So that's looking good. So a busy month, actually.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Right. Thanks, Maddie. Right. Has anybody got any questions? Sarah?
I just want to say, Maddie, you're like the happiest bit of the month for me at the moment. I so wanted to turn up today. I thought I'd be arguing with builders, but it's so good to be here and hear all this positivity, all of this amazing stuff. Thank you so much. Close to tears.
Oh,
Right.
Fantastic, isn't it? And just to sort of, talking about the plastic-free Mumbles and public events, of course, I copied you into the email from Tonya's assistant, didn't I? Tonya Antoniazzi, our local MP, has been approached by a couple of children who are very, very keen to do a litter pick. And so Tonya asked if myself and Maddie could have a Zoom with them and with her just to talk about, getting something set up and making sure how they organize, getting the bags collected and all that kind of thing. So that might be an opportunity perhaps for us to be able to do a litter pick somewhere, assuming that, of course, things have relaxed enough for us to be able to actually organize it. But I'd like to think by Easter, we could be thinking about getting those events back up and running. Yes, Maddie.
From my understanding for the rules, you are allowed small groups of volunteer work party days, because it is, it's work. So you're allowed small groups. So you could do small picks.
Yeah.
You couldn't have like a community event, like if they wanted to go out, and just maybe 4 of us just do a pick. I think that's
I suppose it's difficult because people are so keen that everybody will want to come along.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to be doing is saying, look, I'm really sorry, but you can't.
You can't
because,
come.
But I do think that sorry, this is sort of going off the point a bit, but it's sort of relevant, that we should try and do something, have a look at Washing House Brook as one of our first events, because that was actually planned for Easter last year and we had to cancel it, obviously. And I know that there's the paths and things are in a really poor state. So not necessarily just a litter pick, but some work I think we need to schedule in to have a look at that and see what we can do. I think Ed put his hand up, then Sarah, then Steve.
Just for interest, I did a litter pick in Washing Brook many years ago with Members Development Trust. It was organised by Terry Scales. And the amount of hypodermic syringes that we found was beyond belief. We filled sharps boxes full and full and full. So it needs to be thought through especially if there's children, really carefully with that, and maybe even have a reconnaissance before we go. But have some really, sharp protocols in place for it.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, thanks, Ed. That would be useful. Yeah. Sarah.
Yeah, picking up from Ed, that is worrying because I know a number of children from Clondallow School that walk their dogs with their parents there nearly every day. But I have had complaints. Sarah, one of the ladies that lives on Wimblewood, has fallen, broken her arm, fall along the path with her dog. It does need clearing. It does need some work there. It's the closest space for a lot of people to exercise, and it's a lovely woodland. It needs to be used and worked properly, and it's been kind of discarded. So,
Steve.
Great.
Sorry, yeah, I hope I didn't miss it in Maddie's report, but one thing I was just going to let everyone know is that the environmental section of the website is now live. And there's an awful lot of stuff that Maddie's done up there that you can have a look at. Because it's
brilliant, fantastic.
Yeah, she's been so busy, so many projects. It's just an amazing read as it is,
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, because this is it. We'll be filling that up. Yeah, just, new stuff coming on every week. Right, Richard.
Yeah, regarding Washnose Brook, where all the syringes have been found, maybe worth letting the community policing team know. Because then it's something they could target as part of their patrols.
Yeah, good idea. Obviously, this was a while back, but definitely I think it's worth, a couple of us, just as you say, Ed, doing a proper recce down there, having a look, see what the problems really are. And as you say, if there is an issue that, clearly it's being used for drugs, then as Richard said, it's worth having a word with the PCSOs. And just, suggesting to them they might want to just swing by there regularly just to keep an eye out. So great, thanks for that, Richard. Okay, right, anything else on Maddie's report? Right, so yeah, as I say, we have just got so much stuff going on in environmental. It's absolutely brilliant. And, every month we've just got new stuff happening. So that's absolutely great. And, particularly things like the bins, which has been a while. We've been backwards and forwards sorting it out. And now finally, they're due to arrive on the 24th of February. And hopefully that following week, they'll be done. Just one thing I do want to add to that, which we discussed, was just making sure that any bins that can be reused, that they prioritise replacing bins in the MCC area. Because what we don't want is to have paid for new bins and then somebody in Morriston or whatever gets the benefit of our our other bins when we've got, lots of bins that are just falling apart and urgently need replacing. So we do need to make sure we pick that up with the guys who are doing the installations and make sure that they've identified where those bins can go. Okay, right, brilliant. Thanks, Maddie. Right, e-cargo bike storage and intern post. Now, this is on because the plan is, as you know, to get this university student for 6 weeks to do some work with the local businesses. I'm not quite sure what the plan is because I haven't seen the program yet. But the idea is that she is going to be doing some work with the local businesses, and we want to include doing some work for us on gauging interest in the e-cargo bike program at the same time, because the businesses do not want someone going around asking one lot of questions and then 2 weeks later someone else from MCC going around and asking another load of questions. Yeah. So we want to make sure that we bring it all in. So what it's on here for is for people to come up with what do we need, what are the key things that we need to speak to businesses about. Eddie, as you remember, did a very useful questionnaire, and are we happy that that is the questionnaire that they work through with the different businesses that they go to see? So that's what we just want to get clear. Richard.
Yeah, I was speaking to Ed earlier on, and in the current climate, we can't go around with this questionnaire.
No.
But we are ready, once we're out of COVID and we can go do things face to face, we can crack on with it then. But nothing much can be done until then, it's on hold.
Yeah, I'm assuming that this person, this intern, is not going to actually be taken on until such time as they can actually communicate and contact the businesses, because obviously otherwise it would, it would be a waste of time all round. Unless, we look at some way where it could be a telephone survey, which obviously is quite doable. But as I say, once I've had a chance to discuss with Paul and with Claire exactly what the plan is, then we can make sure that we link our questionnaire in with it. So is there anything else that people think we should also be asking this young person to be doing while they're thinking with businesses? Ed.
I did some other work on the businesses in the members. I started basically 40s Cafe in Limeslade and worked my way back. Then I got as far as Mumtaz. Oh no, Baywash.
Oh wow!
On the Members Road, all the businesses, and then it would be worth, and some in Newton Road and Duns Lane, and there are all little sort of pockets here and there. But then it'll be worth sitting down sometime or in a meeting like this to go through it when I can present it a bit better and actually have some targets, because some are not going to be delivering, some won't be interested, some haven't got that kind of business. But if we targeted the most likely, then we could have a kind of a list to go forward with for the intern to start, and then whichever, and certainly with the questionnaire, wasn't a bad start. Could do with perhaps some tweaking from the answers. Only a short, we had about 6-7 answers, I think.
Yeah.
To see and to reevaluate the questionnaire, and maybe whoever it was could work on that to go forward. But those two things together would be a good start, I think.
Okay, well, I guess sorry, Pam, I'll get to you in a sec. Just maybe Maddie, Ed and Richard could just revisit that questionnaire and just go through it and just make sure, and then hopefully then we can pick it up with Claire and Paul and with the intern, and actually, as you say, look at if we want to target particular businesses. That's why we need to know what Claire's plans for this person is, because hopefully it'll be the same businesses and we'll be able to ask for both. But I think it's important that we make sure for the e-cargo bike questionnaire that West Cross is included as well.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure whether they're planning to do anything in West Cross, because as I say, I presume it's something to do with the Chamber of Trade, possibly, which nobody I don't think has ever quite found out exactly what it is they're doing, but whatever it is, I presume it's something to do with that. And I'm guessing that only covers Mumbles, so we need to make sure that the intern picks up on West Cross shops as well. Pam.
My computer's telling me I've got a meeting with you in 5 minutes' time. Does anybody know what that is?
With me?
With the Community Council.
I think it's probably this meeting, but for some reason.
6:30. Well, I would be here, but I'm going to try and find out where else I should be and tell them I'm not going to be here. So I am here, but I will be fiddling for a minute.
Okay. Right. So anyone else? Yes, Maddie.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on that one. I think, like you said, it is best if we find out Claire's plans in terms of e-cargo bike questionnaire coming on to the intern as well, and how long the questionnaire would be. Would it be the original, I think it's 2.5 pages, or would it be less? You know, it's, I think if we have that discussion, Richard and Eddie, we need to liaise with Claire directly.
Absolutely.
And then,
yeah, I think it's really important that, you know, that the two are really kind of carefully put together so that the intern is max, you know, they're here for 6 weeks, which sounds like quite a long time, but it's surprising how quickly that'll go. And we obviously want to maximize that time and what we want them to do within that time, linking in with obviously what Claire and Paul or whoever it is that's organizing that side want to do as well. So, you know, hopefully there'll be some overlap and that'll make it a lot easier for the intern to cover it all. Okay, so so you three, if you sort out a meeting, go through the questionnaire, and then, as you say, liaise directly with Claire to pick up with her work program. Great, thanks very much. Public Toilets Working Group. Well, we met, and coincidentally, the 4 people who are in the working group are all here. So rather than me keeping talking, maybe either Sarah or Gareth or Ed want to pick up on what we discussed. Just finding my notes.
I'm just looking for my notes.
I think the initial thing is that we agreed is, yes, we do need something to do with it. And first things first is to put together a questionnaire based on the one that Swansea Council put out. Choose the questions we want to put in our questionnaire and put it out, hopefully in our newsletter, plus on social media, to get feedback, see what the response is, and then take it from there. That was the gist of it.
Yeah, that was the main thing we want to bring to here. Yes, Sarah.
We had particular concerns about Oystermouth's toilets, hoping it would be back on the menu for us to take over, because that's the one. I'm trying to make it more attractive than it sounds, you know, get more people interested. Back on the menu, because we wanted an adult changing room, and that would be the ideal place to put it. Yeah, and it's got the size for that. Yes, we wanted them to actually take into account the fact that though they're taking on Langland toilets, that there was a need for lockers for surfers and shower facilities there, that perhaps if we could ask Mark Thomas if he was willing to take that on board. Maybe we'll need to work with them on that one, but that is something that's been asked for over and over again all the time I've been highways. Yeah. Okay, and yes, and about the toilets and payments as well, that we might need to use plastic on a simple grounds that it's more hygienic to use a card to pay a penny or 50p or whatever it's going to be. Is best than cash, more hygienic, and it might be actually a good selling point.
Can I just remind Sarah that we actually said we could use our phones, so no plastic.
Oh yes, even better.
Yes, have an app. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we covered. You say the first thing we thought most important to build up, you know, our kind of evidence base that we've got the backing of our residents. So what we're hoping to do, I should have sent it out to everyone. I don't think I did. Did I send out? No, there was a questionnaire that Swansea Council did 18 months ago now.
No, I think we did send it. I think I saw one.
I got it.
Yeah, but I probably sent it to you because you were in the working group.
Oh right.
I don't think it's gone to everybody.
No.
Yeah, and basically we thought, well, let's have a look at that and take the questions that are, you know, rather than trying to think of what we want, just say, right, let's just change them so they're relevant for MCC. And we thought if we put it out in the newsletter, because that's due to go out this month, but ideally what we'd put is very clear links to how they can actually answer it online. So although we would put the questions in for those few people who don't have access to the internet, it would be very big sort of, you know, push to say, please complete this online by clicking, you know, by going onto this link or whatever. So that's how hopefully we'll do it. So that we thought, yeah, is, you know, that's the key thing. Let's actually get people out there saying, you know, do you want us to take it on? And just to get a feel of how much money they would be prepared to kind of invest. You know, would you be happy if MCC paid an extra 5,000 a year, paid an extra 10,000 a year? You know, what would you feel was worth paying out of the precept to have them better cared for, looked after, kept clean, and staying open? Sarah?
Yeah, and I'm always a little concerned when you put that kind of question out in case you get a negative, because we all know it's essential.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to do that.
Well, it's taxpayers' money. That's at the end of the day. So you have.
And if people come back and say no, we're quite happy with crap toilets, then, you know, we say fine. Don't come moaning to us if they're crap, because that's what you said you want.
They're crap.
Yeah.
Did you just say that?
Sorry.
Crap a toilet. Crap. Yeah.
Ed.
Can I ask about the timescale for our responses? If you wanted to go into the newsletter that's going out this month, and you're going to need to
how long do you think after the newsletter goes out should we give people?
No, I mean,
it'll go out online at the same time.
Yeah.
Our responses to you now to be able to put it in the newsletter.
Oh, right. Well, if you could have them to me by the end of the week. So if I or Steve sends out the Swansea Council questionnaire, and if you could all just go through that and add in any extra questions, and obviously say these aren't relevant, we can take these out. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the key questions obviously is, because it'll be online and not necessarily then only being looked at by residents, will be, you know, there's a question, are you an MCC resident? You know, so that we've got an idea of the kind of numbers of actual people who'll be paying for it, as it were, who are responding. Sarah?
It would be nice to ask the question, even if, that sounds bad. Even if if they don't live in the area, it'd be good to ask, does it put you off coming to Mumbles if you know there isn't decent facilities, including adult changing spaces? In the area?
I mean, it's one of the questions. I'm looking for my phone.
I think it is in there.
Swansea one is, you know, does it put you off going out?
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to, you know, use the public toilets, or that, you know, there aren't enough public toilets for you know, for us to cover.
Yeah, it's a good one to keep in.
Yeah, definitely, because I think that's important. Okay, so if I get that out, and then what I'll do, I'll obviously sit down with Claire and we'll work out how we can sort of lay it out on like a double page in the middle of the newsletter that people can then pull out if they want and fill it in and take it down to the office. But we'll obviously encourage as many people as possible to actually just go onto Facebook or the website and fill it in online. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yes, Steve.
Rather than sort of use 2 pages of valuable space, is an alternative say to complete this questionnaire, please go online. If you require a paper version, please call us on and we will send you one.
Yeah, we could do that. We'll see. I mean, so I'll talk to Claire, and if, you know, because obviously everything comes in 4s, as we know. So, you know, if she's got 18 pages, then actually an extra 2 will take it up to 20, and that'll be handy. But if she's already up to 20, yes, then we'd just have to find a space, like a half page or something, asking people to fill it in. Sarah?
If we've got the 2 pages, we can discuss the different problems in different areas, say, such as, would you like to see showers and lockers in Langland?
I think
It's
we've got to be careful. I
facilities.
think we're trying to just focus this on what we can do. If we
Okay.
took them off.
Langland's out of our control.
And
Yeah, I
Langham will be
know.
out, yeah, because otherwise we're going to have to say, well, yeah, you all wanted that, but actually we can't do anything about it because it's not actually within our remit.
Yeah, so it's no good asking the council whether.
Yeah, of course we will.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the things I've got on my list to do is to remind Mark Thomas, could he please make sure, you know, when they're talking to developers that there has been a lot of requests for showers, and can they include that along with the public toilets?
Okay.
Okay, and we did talk briefly about, you know, we felt that there's a big gap between Oystermouth Square and Blackhill.
Yeah, there is. It's
A
vast.
big gap. And so we did discuss various options of where we thought might be a possible place to have some toilets somewhere between Blackhill and Oystermouth Square. And one of the things we said, which Maddie was going to do, is, I think it was Maddie, talk to Ripples.
It's always Maddie.
Because we're already doing we're talking to Ripples about bottle fillers. So we could, you know, whether they would be prepared to either, you know, make their toilets available, you know, that they could sort of, you know, we would pay them a fee or whatever to make their toilets as public toilets, or whether we could in some way actually build on the side or whatever to put some more public toilets in. Pam?
Ripples is too close to Oystermouth to ask for more public toilets, surely.
I mean, I'd prefer it to be more like the West Cross Inn.
Yes.
That side, yeah.
And we did look, and those of you who know the prom well, between the West Cross Inn and the skate park, the prom obviously is at sea level, but the actual grass is much higher. So there's like a big bank. So we wondered whether if we put public toilets there, they would, because the bank is really big, they would be hidden from view from the road. And so that might be a possible place, but obviously that would be a lot of money because you'd be digging up the bank and, you know, building them from scratch. So that's why we were trying to think of some way of just having some public toilets somewhere between Blackhill and Oystermouth Square that just didn't involve quite such a big cost.
Walk from Blackhill to Oystermouth Square. Do you really want another set of toilets with all that expense 10 minutes away from where there is one already?
Well, you think we're happy to have between Oystermouth and Blackhill is fine?
It's a 20-minute walk.
Not for somebody who's disabled or somebody
who's in their 80s.
Health problems.
Well, I think it's a huge expense to put another toilet halfway between Oystermouth and Blackhill. It's a huge expense.
Can I also point out that we've made a big point of putting in disabled ability, wheelchair abilities into our skate park, and there's no wheelchair disability toilets in the area.
Well, there is at Blackhill. There's disabled toilet at Blackhill.
Yeah,
which is only 200 meters, so that's okay.
I still think it would be lovely to have toilets that were actually designed for to be inclusive.
Yeah.
In between that space. We have had letters in. I know we've had heartbreaking letters in from One Highways years ago when Helen was chair, and mentioning people saying, I can't go along the seafront, there isn't enough toilets.
Well, I know Martin has raised it as well, and he's said that a lot of older people won't use the prom because of the fact that there aren't public
but
toilets.
we could incorporate them into Oystermouth Square toilets. The changing room facility.
Yeah, but it's about we got them down from Swansea. They were ready to do it. There was a space where there was the changing. They were all ready to go, and then for some reason it all fell through. I think it was blocked.
Yeah, because they were deciding to sell off the toilet block.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did all the work once.
Sorry, Ed. Sorry, I think you were next.
there's pros and cons here, but if we do the initial work without getting too deeply involved in it, we have an idea of what's required and what's really suitable for the public and the tourists and everything else that we consider. And then it gets put forward but falls down on cost. We haven't done anything wrong.
No, that's right. You're right.
And then if it's in the future, there's a little bit of head of steam. The money has to come from somewhere. We have to lobby the local authority or raise a precept or something like that. I don't know whether that's a dirty word, but you know, we've done our work.
Sure. No, that's good point. Yeah, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, I was interested in that bit where we looked at, because it could be hidden, but you can get some interesting looking, like Portaloo, similar to Portaloo, which are really quite cheap, and put them along the space close to the skate park. At least that would be something along that walkway. And I do think it is important, if we're really serious about getting that area open to everyone, that we follow the route and make sure that it is, that people can say there's toilets there, there's toilets there, there's toilets there. And
especially with looking at West Cross Green, the children's playground being there, so talking about a lot more families, young kids
exactly
being there as well. So I think all of those things together we do need to take into consideration. Anyway, Steve has very helpfully sent out the questionnaire, so
sorry,
if we can all have a look.
Chair, I'm afraid there's a family meeting. There's a family meeting coming up. I've got to attend. I'm going to have to leave. I'm really sorry. Some of you do understand what's going on.
Okay. Was there anything coming up that you had any particular?
I don't think so. I'm fine.
No.
Sorry. I've got to go.
Okay.
Thanks, Pam.
Hi, Pam. Yeah. Could I also say, picking up on what Ed said, Carrie? Oh, well, there you are. It would be a good idea if we could just find out how much these things cost, so that even if it's ridiculous now for the budget, it might not be ridiculous in a year or so's time.
True. Yeah.
Then we know what size of what we're looking at.
Yeah, but that hasn't cost us any money to investigate, is it? It's just...
Exactly.
No, that's right. You know, we're not, because it's not costing us anything at the moment. Okay, well, the questionnaire has gone out for you all to comment on. So if you want to add in extra things like questions about, you know, additional toilets or whatever, then obviously we can build those in. Okay, right. Item 7 is Big Skips proposal. Right, this is the idea that someone came up with. Someone emailed in to. There was a copy. I know Steve circulated the email suggesting that we should hire big skips and put them around MCC for people to put all their rubbish in. I suggested an alternative which I felt was possibly better. I mean, the issue with the big skips is that you will get all sorts of people literally coming with a lorry and emptying it out into them. You know, if you leave it out for a couple of days, overnight, the whole thing will be filled up with God knows what, particularly if it's in a sort of easily accessible, prominent position.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so that's
flies
a worry.
in the face of environmental. It flies in the face of actually recycling.
I know.
Backwards.
I know it is difficult, but what my thought was, if we're going to go down this road at all, which we might feel is not appropriate, because as you say, we should be looking to reuse things, not truck them, is that we hire one of these waste clearance, we clear everything guys with a lorry, and you know, say 1 month he'd go and stop in, you know, 2 or 3 places around Newton. You know, he will be at X at 11 o'clock, he'll be Y at 1 o'clock, and you know, Z at 3 o'clock or whatever, and then the following month it'd be West Cross, the following month Oystermouth, and so on. Steve.
Sorry, Chair, I should have pointed this out when we went through the action points. The action point for the last meeting was that you were to ask for volunteers for a working group to look into
Yes.
it, if you recall now.
That's right. Right. So is there anyone who's got a burning desire to discuss?
No. Not doing toilets and waste, that's too much.
I know this is it. Yeah, we're already doing toilets. Richard's already doing e-cargo bikes. Maddie.
You know, you suggested we take everything lorries. I don't know if that's what it was called, but what do they actually do with that? What I've never heard of these.
Right, it's I mean, you know, builders companies use them a lot and things. Basically, they're licensed to
They're a licensed
dispose
waste
of-
carrier. That's all they are.
Yeah, but you know,
All they do is they go up to the baling plant and tip it all. That's what happens.
yeah, they're not fly tippers. Basically, they have to have licenses to only, you know, legally dispose of. They have to sort it. They have to get rid of different things in different ways.
Okay.
But I don't know whether they would kind of go to the extent of looking and thinking, well, that's a perfectly good ironing board. Why don't I take that and give it to someone?
No, they won't. It's
They
like literally
wouldn't.
house clearance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, Sarah.
We just need some joined up thinking here. Oh, I hate that phrase, but we need to. If I think we said it in the last meeting, if they were like collecting wood, and we could put it in one space and say, guess what, people of Mumbles today? We have planks and bits of wood. Do you want to make raised beds? Do you want anything? It's here today, and then whatever's left. I don't know what we do with
no, I think that was a really good idea. Yeah, Maddie.
I really like that idea. My only concern is how would you manage that?
I don't know.
Yeah, how would you stop people from putting whatever they wanted in a wood skip, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's when we would still have to book the We Take Anything man to come at the end of the day and basically take away whatever's left. Richard.
In principle, I think it's a good idea. However, I think we should put it on hold for a while because there's other things happening with COVID and other things are priorities. Because I think we could be opening up a can of worms here and creating more problems than we solve. We know there's an issue with some rubbish around, but this could create a bigger problem.
I mean, I think it came from the fact that, you know, certainly there's been, and it was, I think, particularly bad during lockdown, you know, there's been a lot of stuff dumped on roadside verges and things all around. I know Fairwood Road particularly has been a problem. And so I think it came from the fact that they were just whoever emailed in was trying to find a way of saying, is there any way we can allow people who can't get to the recycling centres to actually dispose of their rubbish rather than leaving it on the side of the road. So that's where it came from. It was aimed at people or at rubbish that can't be got rid of by somebody driving to the recycling centre. Ed.
I know this was an issue that was dealt with the City Council some 25 years ago.
Wow.
I was living down in West Winarloyd, Cockett.
Oh, yeah.
And the councillors did that. Then they put various size skips, including some really big skips. Penlan, Bonamine, Winarloyd was one place, various different places where there was fly tipping and all that. And there was varied results. But thinking of that and, you know, and their experience, it's waste disposal and it's a City Council issue. And it should be really dealt with, because if you have people bringing wood, putting it somewhere, somebody picks it up and moves it on then to a place it's supposed to go, that's waste transfer, and you need licenses for that. You need to make if you're getting wood, if you want wood, you get wood, but you don't get glass and putty, you don't get plastic, you don't get electrical equipment. So it's got to be somewhere like the Derwentvow, the civic amenity site, where there's oversight. So it is a can of worms. Richard's right there. It's it does open up a lot of problems. So possibly asking the City Council to give a report of their experiences back in the day, back when,
Yeah, that might be worth it.
and having some pointers from them, and then putting that information out to members, residents, so that you say you've looked at it, and there are these issues. What would you like us to do? There's a limit to what we can do, but to have a probably thought through response from the people who have the responsibility to do it and have previous experience.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Gareth.
Thinking about it now, when I worked for a housing association up in Bridgend, very similar sort of thing, low end of rubbish issues. What we did was a rubbish amnesty for a 2-hour period, one street, skip was in there, supervised, bring it in, 2 hours later, the lorry turned up, took it away, and the housing association paid the bill. It's one way of doing it, because you're there for a 2-hour slot rather than just leaving a skip out for 4 days.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to go for the option of the man with the van for that reason. There'd be a fixed time. This guy will come at 11 o'clock to this point. Therefore, you must bring anything you want to get rid of.
Same as a skip, though. Same as a skip, because all you do is have the skip put there for 2 hours, and then they come back in 2 hours' time and take it away.
Would they do that with the skip? Would they do it that quickly?
We did it with Wales West Housing. We actually got the skip company, and they we struck a deal with them because it was through Housing Association and Bridgend Council, I think, and they just agreed. Skip turned up, 2 hours, everybody was bringing sofas, chairs, rubbish, whatever in the garden. 2 hours later, that skip's gone.
Okay, so it looks like there are lots of options. I think that's a wise thought of Eddie's to actually ask Swansea Council for some feedback on, I mean, they might have done it since, they might have done it on particular areas. So I think that would be useful. So that's another thing I could speak to Mark Thomas about.
Yeah.
And ask
Sarah's
if he's got any...
Sarah's waving frantically.
I know.
Yeah, Sarah.
For ages. Yeah, Carrie, first of all, find out how much it costs for the skip for 2 hours as opposed to the man with the van. I still like the idea of actually people collecting bits of wood and whatever, because I think there'd be a lot of people that could connect. But perhaps we could do that sort of informally on our community council thing. Ask people. Yeah. I've got piles of tiles here, roof tiles.
Well, of course, that is done really through places like Nextdoor.
Yeah.
And the Facebook groups where people do actually do that. I mean, that's where I got the pavings for my allotment. Our allotment was just on somebody on Facebook saying, I got a load of paving stones I'm getting rid of. Does anybody want them?
And can I say, please don't keep talking about cans of worms, because as a composter, I get excited at that prospect. So that's not a negative. Stop it.
Yeah, Richard.
Yeah. With the cost of a skip, it doesn't matter if you have it for 2 hours or a week. The cost is the delivery or take away at exactly the same price.
Right. Okay. But they would be able to do it. They wouldn't say, oh, I can't possibly come back in 2 hours. I've
never tried that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I think so our starting point is we'll have a conversation with Swansea Council and we'll see what they come back with, and then we'll take it from there. Is that sensible? Sorry.
Yeah, I still don't like the idea of a skip because people just chuck stuff in it. Even ours down the front, people dog owners throw their dog poo into it and all sorts. Crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Right, thanks very much. So we'll move on. Meeting with the Environment Centre. Maddie, do you want to just give us a quick report on the meeting we had? It seems like forever ago now.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, we spoke to the Environment Centre and Chris from Beyond Recycling, their new sort of sub project that they've got going on. We spoke about biodiversity and sort of climate, didn't we? We sort of went off into sort of directions, and essentially they wanted to make a form or an outputs and outcomes sort of report for councils in terms of and community councils to look at the biodiversity goals, similar to the Section 6 report that we did. But also including like tips on how you can fulfill this duty. So there's obviously the Wales Biodiversity Partnership, where we do the Section 6 report, they have lots of stuff online that we can look at, and they tell you how to do the report and stuff, but they don't actually give you detailed information as a council, as a community council, how you can fulfill this duty. So she was looking at doing something like that, and we would work in collaboration with her, and I would help sort of just roll off some ideas of what we've been doing, and that is achievable and scalable for certain councils depending on how big they are. Just small projects as well. So I'm waiting to hear her notes on that.
Yes.
Really. Yeah.
Yes.
I think
She did promise that she would write it all up and send it to us, but hasn't actually materialized yet.
No, not yet. I'm hoping that she is continuing with that. You know, I think it would be a really good sort of point. I think it would be a really good action for us to be a part of, you know, sort of lead by example, because we're already doing that really. And another thing they looked at is just collaborating with us this year on repair and reuse workshops. So I'm actually giving a talk with their Beyond Recycling project on the 10th of February. They've invited me to give a presentation on part of our plastic free mumbles stuff that we do. Oh, right. But they want to do more with us in terms of holding reuse workshops, so people can bring their own materials. It might be specified for certain ones, and you can make something out of something old that you've got. Similar bike repairs. They wanted to do like bike repair workshop that we could be part of. Yes. So there's lots of avenues that they wanted to go down, and they were really keen to work with us on those.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we should jump at that really. It's good to connect, isn't it? So we're just hoping to see what they've come up with. And I sent them a little bit of a brief of what we've been doing and what we can bring to the table. So I'm just waiting to hear on that really.
Okay, excellent. Right, Sarah.
Yeah, talking about the bike repair, I know the skateboarders are really keen on doing that with kids with the skateboards as well on site, somewhere close by.
Yeah.
So
yes, I did. There was a piece on, I think it was Facebook, about these bike stop hubs, where it's just like basically a kind of on the move bike repair station. And I did email immediately to them and say, we would please can we have one in Mumbles? I haven't heard back, but I have put it out there that we would really like to have one here. Maddie.
I spoke to the Environment Centre about that.
Yeah.
And they said they've only got a certain amount of funding for direction rather than us. But they said if they went for another round that we would be at the top.
Right, so they've already actually allocated.
They've allocated a lot, because I was talking to him on behalf of Pam about the skate park having one.
Right.
And they said that they've allocated them all, so they can't do that. But I can't remember exactly what he said, but it sounded promising for future.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, because the implication was from the post that went out on Facebook, they were basically saying, let us know where you would like to see them.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of jumped on it and said, I'd like to see one here, please.
I was just reading his email. He said if your project has the funds to cover the cost of the station itself, they can provide installation, training sessions, advertising and insurance. It's £1,200 included.
Okay, well that's worth
making a note.
Can you just make a note of that? So at £1,200, if we can find a little bit of cash lurking about somewhere, then that would be a good place to put it.
Yeah, if it could be linked in, sorry, Carrie, if it could be linked in with the skateboard stuff as well, that would be excellent. Because there's a few mums told me from St. David's, they were horrified to find after buying their kids new skateboards, that when they were at a local skate park, the kids around them all took it apart and they all changed different bits that they preferred. And they said, well, that's a thing, that they do that and they customize and they do, and which is a lovely thing to actually encourage, you know, actively encourage. It's the same as with bikes. It's great. So that's a good thing to get on with.
Okay. Okay, so we'll note that you know, that if we can find £1,200, they will kind of do the rest.
Yeah.
Which would be brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Right, anybody else got any comments about our meeting with the Environment Centre? I mean, for me, just to say, you know, it's definitely a relationship that we want to nurture, because I think it's a really, really good good opportunity for us to promote what we're doing. You know, and for the rest of Swansea to actually, you know, see what we're doing down here in Mumbles, and of course to get advice and support and assistance from them for what we're doing down here. Steve?
Yeah, sorry, just to add to that, because I obviously went to that one.
Yes.
I think the main point that they were talking about was they were trying to do a website on the climate crisis, on things councils can do and individuals can do to make things better, which sounded very exciting. And also I think how we can help is people like yourself, who are our representatives on One Voice Wales, can go and sort of publicise what they're doing in these projects that we're talking about. And,
sure.
And so I think we've got we could have a very fruitful collaboration, couldn't we? I think
so. I think it's a really good good relationship to build on. So I'm really pleased that we've had that meeting, and that they are going to be part of our SMUGS Ops group as well, which is great, because I think they'll be really useful on that as well. Okay, so we'll continue with that, and as I say, we'll take note that, you know, perhaps you know, we might be able to look at getting one of the bike repair stations at some point. Okay, I just wanted quickly to just update on where we're at with our purchases, orders. I'm conscious we've only got 2 months left, and we want to make sure that we've actually booked in and spent all the money that we were planning to for purchasing different things through our civic communities budget. Obviously, we've got the bins. We've got approval for all the other things, but we just need to actually make sure that we've actually got them on order. You know, like the wildflowers. You know, have we got a supplier? Has Paul got the information? Does he know when they need to be ordered for us to be able to put them in? Yes, Maddie.
For the wildflowers, which project are you referring to? All of them?
Well, this is the, whatever it is, 1,600 and something, whatever it is that we've got for the wildflowers that we got approved by full council. This was the Grassford scheme, £1,635.
Yeah, so that report has gone out, and the only reason I haven't progressed with ordering them is I'm still waiting to hear back from like permissions.
Right, yeah, from Swansea Council, just to
Lewis,
get that.
Yeah, I've been in touch with Lewis, and I'm just waiting to see the best route, really.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't want to spend. Obviously, we could put them in somewhere else.
Yeah, but no, I'm just worried. I don't want it to be kind of the moment has passed. You think, oh, we haven't actually ordered them, so, and now we haven't got them to put in. So if I just go through what's on our list of what we need to do, the ballot bins. Now we need to get those ordered, don't we?
Yeah, they take about, if we order them this month, they'll be here by March.
That's perfect. Yeah. Excellent.
And that's when we're launching that campaign, 10th of March. So
okay, so we have them for then. That's fantastic. So that can be a request to Paul.
Yeah.
The bins, the bin vinyls, that's all sorted. We're in progress with the bottle filler. Maybe, Maddie, do you want to just quickly do a 2-minute, just quickly what we spoke to the guy AC Grey, the people who install them?
Yeah, so we met with Andrew, and we discussed that we wanted a different bottle filler, not the one that goes on the side. It's a standalone bottle filler, obviously. And basically his advice was for us to discuss this side of the promenade rather than with people who we could discuss with, like Ripples, anyone that is on this side of the promenade, so that it
The
could keep the
seaside,
cost
that
down.
is.
Yeah, the seaside. This side. Just
Not
keep-
this side, because we're on the other side, but we want it on that
yeah.
side.
Because basically, if we go the house side of the promenade across the road, they'd have to come through the road
Yeah.
to input the water filler, which could be really expensive job.
Yes.
Because they'd have to block off parts of the road, and they just have to feed it from, because basically the main line of the water is the opposite side of the road. It's not on the promenade.
Yes, it's a bit unfortunate that the main that runs right the way up Mumbles Road is actually on the far side from the prom.
Yeah.
So anything, wherever we wanted to put a bottle filler on the prom would require them to dig under the road.
Yeah.
So it's closer to the road than it is to the actual path, sea path.
Yeah.
It's the far side of Mumbles Road.
So he said
This
basically,
this is the water main that we would need to. Yeah.
He said that if we wanted to do that, we, instead of having a spur off line coming from the main to the promenade in 4 different points, which could potentially be really expensive, is talking to people like Ripples and that derelict bungalow, or whatever that.
Because it must still have a water supply to it.
Oh yeah.
There's lots of spur. We could, spur off and go from there, which would be a more efficient way of going about things. So we had a lot of advice from him, and it was a really good meeting because
he was really helpful.
My expertise, I don't really know much about that, so it was really good to have him there. Explain the practicalities of actually putting fillers in. So we've just got a bit of admin to do on that, haven't we? We've just got to talk to the locals to see what their thoughts would be about having fillers. And I think it would be good, publicity and good advertising if we have it along the front. They could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
I mean, I think we could sell it, to somewhere like Ripples.
Yeah.
Because people are going to stop off, fill their water bottle, and then they're going to think, oh, do we have an ice cream?
Yeah.
They've got a reason to stop, and then they've got that trade that rather than just hurtling past is actually stopping at their cafe and more likely to then buy something while they're there.
And they're a plastic-free business champion, and he's always looking for alternatives and always
brilliant.
Yeah. So I'm going to speak to him, and I think he'll be on board. So hopefully.
And then we were going to contact Des Thomas because I know he knows who owns that ex bungalow.
Yeah.
Oh, I know who owns it.
Site. Oh, you know.
Yeah, he contacted me at the start of this. Ironically, Tomsk from the skate park, Ian Thomas knows him even better. He is actually a big fan of skateboarding and a skateboarder himself. And the guys had to have a word with him because he's talking about the bowl not being too close and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So we already have a kind of chatting relationship.
So maybe if you could give his contact details to Maddie or to Steve or both for us to get hold of him. We're not asking him to give us his water supply, although we could say, look, if you have no further use for it, we're more than happy to take it off your hands.
He reckons he has an intention of doing that house up, so.
Well, in which case we just say, can we just please, before your water meter, can we just take a tee off to run down to the skate park?
I think the best person, Maddie, is to actually put you in connection with Ian Thompson and Jono, because they have a relationship with him. They can talk to him.
That'd be great.
That would be great.
Because it is actually the water, the drinking fountain for the skate park. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, because we also looked at somewhere like the Texaco garage, and, you
Yeah.
know, that we could run something down the prom from there. Because, you know, as Andrew said, it's an awful lot easier digging up a bit of grass verge than to actually dig up Mumbles Road. And
every time you do that, you stop them selling plastic bottles full of water. And that's the
Absolutely.
positive.
Absolutely. This is it. This is the whole purpose of it, is to, you know, make
Take
sure
away that
people have
market.
got
Take
an
away that
absolutely
market.
clear alternative. You don't need to buy a plastic bottle. There is a water filler right there. Yeah.
We need to make it seem ridiculous to buy a bottle of
Yes,
water.
that's right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we need to do. Yeah.
Okay, so that's sorry, that's in hand. Right. Oh, good news. I don't know if everybody heard about the floral decorations. You know, we pay Swansea Council to do all the hanging baskets and things. Well, mostly at Sarah's absolute insistence, we said we do not want them to use peat in the compost that they use there. They said, oh, they'll be terrible, they'll be rubbish, you'll find that they just won't grow.
Everyone will hate you.
And now they've actually come back to us and given their due, they've actually said, do you know what? They were just as good as ever with that peat-free compost.
And the compost was lighter, which meant it easier. They could carry more.
Yeah.
On the
lorry.
The lorry.
That was a absolutely brilliant result. And so I did, you know, obviously go back to them and say, well, I hope you're going to now be thinking about extending that to other parts of Swansea now that you know, we've proved the case.
Yeah. And even Cash Hardware got back to me and said, did you do anything about this? Because we're going to fill our stores full of the peat-free compost.
Brilliant.
No, yeah.
So it's all positive, especially when the people tell you, the first meeting I had with them, they laughed me out of the room. Yeah. They were like, no, that can't do it. That you can't do that, dear.
Yeah, it literally was like that, wasn't it?
Oh, so, it was awful.
Fantastic.
It was awful.
We've cracked that. Right. Oh, Jubilee Gardens, Maddie, we need to get those ordered as well. So again, can we get a list of suppliers for Paul so that he can get those ordered? And then we can
there's
a little socially distanced working party down at Jubilee Gardens to put them in.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry, Maddie. So can I suggest this is sort of mostly housekeeping that
it is, but I just want to make sure we have it minuted that
I've got my spreadsheet. I'm updating it daily. Maddie's on the ball. The only thing that needs perhaps a bit of discussion is Ruth's recycling.
Right, we have an update on that, don't we, Gareth?
Of course we do.
Gareth and I met at the West Cross Co-op this morning, and he's measured up the site, and we will actually need to look for a slightly different shed, because he looked and he said there's like a guttering drain runs across the area, but behind that you've got a 2 meter deep space. So rather than going for a 2.5 by 2.5, we will look again to see if we can get a 2 by 3 meter, and then we wouldn't be going across this guttering.
That way then, it's a gully drain, it's a channel drain running right across the floor. So if we built over it, if they had to do any maintenance to it, it'd be under the base. So by coming 2 meters, we're just inside the channel drain. So we staying well clear of the channel drain. You're talking of 6 meters compared to 6.5. You're not losing much space, but 2.5 by 2.5. But we're avoiding the drain. It'd be easier to make the base. I suggest making a solid base, and then the shed that you buy without the base.
Yeah.
So the shed can screw straight to the wooden base that we put down.
Right.
Okay,
and the
so
price for your base,
going to cost that up for us.
which I've already done.
Fab.
And the price for your base will come in at £270.
Brilliant. Okay.
All inclusive.
Fantastic. That's labour and materials and everything. So do you want to make a note of that, Steve? So ideally, I am going to actually sort of go back to West Cross Co-op because they do have these they do have funds, grant money that they can give to community organisations for particular things. So I'm going to suggest that they might want to give some money to St David's Community Recycling, which they could then use to build the base for the shed.
Good idea.
So so I will explore that, but otherwise, again, obviously, we will need to look at maybe we can.
But what do you need to do? I base that on a 3x2 base. You need to find out what sheds are available, because if there isn't one 3x2,
exactly.
we'll have to modernise the base.
Yeah, you know, so we might find that, you know, there's a cheaper shed that we can get that fits into that space. So I'm back to the drawing board on that to see if we can find a suitable shed. And of course, we did cost him for the flooring, and Gareth has now included the flooring in it. So there's a saving there already that we won't have to buy a flooring for it.
Right. So how much was that again, Gareth?
270.
Brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so yeah, so hopefully we can go ahead and get, I'll identify alternative sheds that come in 2 meters by 3 meters, and we'll see if we can get that sorted out. I mean, West Cross Co-op are happy for us to do it whenever, so we can get started on that straight away. Okay.
Okay.
And we've got approval already for the purchase of it, so that's already taken care of. So Steve, is there anything that we haven't got prior approval for? Have we got approval for the Jubilee Gardens cost? Should we put that on the agenda for next week? We've definitely got the wildlife signage, we've got the grass verge, we've got all those already approved.
The Jubilee Gardens, I can't remember whether, because that was a budget item last year. I'm not sure whether it was pre-approved. We usually pre-approve things like the Jubilee Gardens.
Yeah, because it was carried over from last year, maybe.
Yeah. So, well, if it was carried over from last year, then it'd be pre-approved.
Can you double check that with Paul?
Yeah.
And if necessary, we can put it on the agenda, but otherwise we can just go ahead and get those purchased. Right, have I missed anything that we've got on that budget?
There's nothing major, because I know everything else Maddie is ordering now and so on.
Right.
So
great.
What we will need to do at our next meeting of this committee is do all our environments.
Paul was going to do that for full council on Tuesday.
No, it's too early, because we don't, the plans keep changing, because we would have hired, for example, for Ruth's shed, and we know in practice it might be Y now because of your site visit and
sensible.
So if we leave it to the last possible minute, then we have a much better idea.
Yep. And Paul's happy with that?
He's, as you know, he's been very busy, and he's been taking a day off in lieu today, so I've not had a chance to chat to him.
Right, so yeah.
So I see the sense of that.
Yeah, so if you just say we're happy with that, you know, we've talked about it at the committee, we're happy to leave it till next month, as you say, in case there's any last minute changes. Fab. Right, Smugs project. Right, Smugs, does everyone know now what Smugs is?
Being Smugs.
It's the Sustainable Mumbles Urban Green Spaces. SWGS. Smugs.
I'm so glad you pointed that out. I'm going to write it down.
Right, and the idea being that the Norton Nature Reserve could be, hopefully, is the first of many. So this is like Smugs 1.
We're just going to get smugger.
We will get smugger, indeed.
Sustainable Mumbles Urban Project.
Green Spaces.
Urban Green
Spaces.
Okay.
Because basically it could cover anything from a little patch of scrubland to, you know, a big area. So that's the idea of it. It's a kind of, it's an overall plan of which, as I say, this is our first venture. Eddie.
Okay.
I very nearly said Cheryl there because I was reading your name off.
I can be Cheryl if you want. To get things on the smug list now, can we just put them to this committee and suggest them, or because I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm thinking, you know, where I am in Acacia Road, it's a
Yep.
cul-de-sac, and there's a decent amount of parking there, but there's one little patch of green there. There's the grass. Well, it's never used, but it's always cut. So it's the cost to the city council for cutting it for no good purpose. Nobody walks in it, and it'd be ideal for some wildflowers.
Perfect.
And maybe some small planting, low planting, not to get people walking in the bushes. But is there a need to go to the community and let everybody know this is a proposal and see what they come up with?
I would say what we start by doing is collecting up all those suggestions, you know, because it might be we look and say, well, we can't do that for another 10 years. And we've asked everyone in the community and they get all excited and then it wouldn't happen. So best, you know, just anyone who, anything similar, you know, that they know of some, you know, unused piece of ground, whether it's a bit of grass, as you say, that's dutifully mowed month after month for no good reason, or whether it's a bit of scrubland that just could do with a bit of TLC. And, you know, we can kind of build up a database of all those areas, and then we can decide maybe some sort of priority as to how we deal with them. Does that sound sensible?
Yeah, okay.
Right, okay, so the idea is, the purpose of this is to talk about the membership. We've now got, Sarah is on both the groups. Martin is also on the steering group, but obviously any other councillors, any other members of this committee who are interested in being on either the steering group, which is like the kind of the one that sort of is just like got strategic people on, like Lewis Hines and you know, Martin as chair of the council, just to kind of have an oversight of it, whereas the operational group is probably going to meet once a month, although not everybody would necessarily come each month, and that's actually going to be dealing with the day-to-day nitty-gritty of, you know, what we need to do next, how much it's going to cost, can we order this. So anyone else who's interested in either being on the steering group or the ops group? Eddie?
I wouldn't mind being on it.
I think, haven't you been invited to represent the allotments on it?
Oh, no, not yet. Not officially.
Oh, I thought
that.
It's coming through. It's done in the pipeline, is it?
I thought, Maddie, you said that
I sent an email. Yeah, I sent an email out to you, Ed.
Oh, I didn't realise this was the Smugs. I thought it was Orchard Project. Is that the same?
Oh, this is
Northern projects. There was
Nature Reserve.
No,
yeah, because what we want is a representative from the allotments.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with that one. Yeah, got
to be our rep.
Yeah, but I was all well. There's another thing, but I'll speak to you again about that. But yeah. Okay, but yeah, I'm aware of that now. Remember?
Right. Yes. So you are already on the ops group.
Right. Okay. Let me know when.
You just didn't know it.
Steve, have we got dates sorted yet?
Well, as you know, Chair, because you filled it in, I did one of those doodle polls.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I've only had response from three for the steering committee.
Right.
And Lewis, so I'm waiting Lewis, which is the most difficult.
Yes.
And Martin. I've chased them up today.
Right. Brilliant.
So hopefully tomorrow we should have a.
Yeah, because Sarah was all set to have a meeting this afternoon. She was.
I was all by myself. I was that keen.
Good.
You sent me all the paperwork for the meeting this afternoon. I said, what meeting? What's this? There's something Steve hasn't told me. Yeah, so if we can get those dates, and then obviously, you know, the membership, as I say, is the steering group is just we'll only probably meet every 3 months maybe, so only 2 or 3 times throughout the project. The ops group is going to be the day-to-day group. So and hopefully what I'm hoping is after the first meeting of the steering group that we actually managed to arrange a site visit to take them down, so that
sorry, Carrie, I've got to go.
yeah, we're nearly done. So right, yep, the last two things. Underhill. We were discussing, Steve.
Yeah, can I just give a quick update on that, Chair?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, obviously this committee and a lot of councillors are very keen that Underhill be built with a lot of green energy and so forth in a modern way that we hope all buildings will be built from now on. And we have a monitoring surveyor whose job is twofold. First part of his job is to look at what MCA, we're building it, plans are, and their costs and the whole operation, and report on whether he thinks they're realistic and so on. Now, I've asked him whether he could do a green audit as part of that, and he's very keen to do so. Interestingly, he's just refurbished a property and put in his own green heat transfer pump thing that we were talking about.
Yes.
So, so he's very keen on that. So he can do that. He's going to give us a quote, but I think because he's keen, I don't think it's going to be a huge amount of money.
Brilliant. Excellent.
So that way we could, he talks about, he's worked with other people so they can produce the running cost statistics to show that the initial capital outlay may be X, but over 5 years it's cheaper to put it in and not with the running costs and so on. So it sounds like we're fortunate we have someone who's
fantastic,
a keen person to do that. So I would hope perhaps we can make a recommendation tonight to full council that we ask him to do that. In the meantime, before next Tuesday, he will provide a quote. So when it comes to full council, it will have a figure attached to it. But he doesn't think it'll be a huge amount at all.
Are we all happy with that? Sounds perfect.
Yeah, can I just say that,
yes,
being the fact that Underhill Park is open green space, it's absolutely ideal for low level ground source heat collection, because it's solar gain, and you'd have all the heat you need for the whole of the building from that because of the area.
Yeah,
you can either lay out pipes in a big area, or you can drill down 100 meters or something like that. So you've got the green area, and I'm sure he would look at that, but that's something that we need to think about and side with, because it's a very powerful green solution, low carbon solution.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's fantastic. Yes, we're going to put a recommendation, and the other recommendation that we want to put is that we ask if Maddie could sit on the joint working group to just advise on and to report on all green environmental issues, just so that as they go along that they're constantly picking up and being making sure that they've actually got those issues in the sort of forefront of their mind at all times.
Yep.
Okay, all good with that? Fantastic.
Yep.
Right, the last thing on the agenda is the budget monitoring report, which I don't actually have in front of me, but I don't think there was anything major on it, was there, Steve? I think it's basically just
nothing unexpected, because we're keeping such a close eye on it. There was nothing unexpected, and obviously next month will be end of financial year time, so that will be the important one to look at. To see where we are.
This is why I was very keen this month to get all those other things approved for purchase, so we've actually got the money spent you know, so that at next month's meeting, when we're, you know, doing the year end, we can say, well, we've spent all that money, we've allocated all our budget, and as Steve said, then we can just finalize those last bits of environment backwards and forwards where we need to make sure we've ticked all the right boxes. Okay. Fab. But just one thing I am going to do just quickly for next year's budget. As you know, we had to cut, or we got cut quite a lot of things off our budget for next year. One of which was Castlewood Paths, which we had to cut from 4,000 to 2,500. So I was going to approach our city councillor, who of course is Miles, who has a money for such things, to ask if perhaps he would like to contribute £1,500 to make that amount back up to £4,000. So I'm going to approach him for that. And I hope you've all read avidly the Path book that I sent you. I hope you've all seen it. Fascinating stuff.
There was a lot of pages.
There is a lot of pages.
I haven't read it yet.
I know. But I just thought it'd be really useful because, you know, it's exactly covering the sorts of things we want to look at. How, you know, how do we get the best value for the Castlewood Paths? It's going to be hard wearing, but is going to be porous, is going to allow water to drain through, etc. So I hope by next meet, I'll test you all on it at next month's meeting. Okay, anything else? All happy?
Yeah, one thing.
Ed, yes.
It's not about this, it's a separate issue. You might recall I sent you an email with a proposal on
Newton Road
of Oystermouth of Newton Road, Lower Newton Road. Is that something can be on the agenda?
I was thinking, I don't know if Steve would agree. I was wondering whether would it be better going to economic, Steve? Because I'm on economic, so and Sarah is, so we could speak.
I mean.
Oh, and Gareth, so we could kind of speak to it there. What do you reckon, Steve?
I don't know what the proposal is. I heard Lower Newton Road, so.
It's about widening the path, the pavement.
Yeah, that's definitely economic now, the sort of highways aspect of things. Yeah. So, yeah, that would be.
Okay, so if you, Ed, if you send it to Paul. Yeah, because Paul, like Steve looks after this committee, Paul looks after economic.
Okay, here we are.
And just, you know, and say that, you know, I'm happy to speak about it at economic at the next meeting.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Fab.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll pick it up through that.
Okay, thanks.
Lovely. They need to have something to do. The last meeting only lasted 20 minutes because there wasn't anything to talk about.
They spend hours on this one. They won't agree either.
Okay, fab. Thanks, everybody. And I'll see some of you again tomorrow. Okay, thanks very much. Bye.